12 Angry Men is the story of 12 jurors in one room for the entire movie. With the exception of an opening in the court and the closing outside, it is entirely set in one location. They have to decide whether or not an 18-year-old man on trial is guilty of murdering his own father via a knife wound or not. But a decision can only be made when all 12 have agreed unanimously. Originally, 11 call him guilty, but one, played by Henry Fonda, is unsure and decides they should discuss the case before throwing away a possible innocent man's life just like that. The whole film is the 12 guys going over the evidence, refuting eyewitness testimonies as Fonda slowly but surely convinces all 11 men that the guy in question is in fact innocent. It sounds really boring. I mean, it's just 12 guys in a room talking for an hour and a half. The screenwriter deserves a medal because not once at any point is it ever boring.
He did an expert job.
Weirdly, the script was originally written to be on television and was even broadcast live in 1954. The recording was unfortunately lost, presumably forever, before finally being rediscovered in 2003. However, the original performance was such a success it led to a film adaptation with Sidney Lumet hired to direct, alongside producer Henry Fonda. Despite this being his producing debut, Fonda claimed after it that he would never produce another movie ever again. One way to go out on top, I guess.
Great idea.
And despite the fact that Fonda never actually got the agreed salary for the film, he still considered it one of the best movies he had ever made, but still somehow refused to watch the entire thing. What?
The nerve.
Fonda absolutely hated watching himself on screen, so he walked out midway and whispered to the director, "Sidney, it's magnificent."
I don't know. It's possible.
But he did have his gripes, as he hated how cheap the backdrops outside the jury room windows looked, complaining to the director instantly. They looked like shit. Hitchcock had great backdrops, you could walk right into them. Look at the ones that we were given. However, Lumet promised him that the director of photography was going to be sure to make them work.
He did an excellent job.
The film was shot and finished in just 3 weeks, which was unheard of at the time. On a small budget of $340,000 though, today that would be the equivalent of just shy of $3 million. The cinematographers decided to add to the whole one location aspect by starting the movie using wide angle lenses, having the camera just above eye level to give off greater depth between subjects, which would slowly increase as the film progresses. And by the end of it, the shots are almost entirely close-ups from a lower angle to add to the claustrophobic feel. Furthermore, director Sidney Lumet actually had the actors stay in the same room together for hours on end, constantly repeating their lines over and over without even being recorded, just to give them the sense of frustration of being cooped up with the same people for so long. I would have jumped out the window, I'm not gonna lie.
I never saw so much time spent on nothing.
Impressively, many of the actors were actually shot entirely on their own and then it was all edited together. Credit to them, I mean, you can never actually tell, but this also meant the sound of the rain needed to be recorded separately for each individual actor. That's impressive.
He's right.
The movie was released on April the 13th, 1957 and was instantly a hit among critics. Unfortunately, despite the critics loving it, it flopped at the box office and wouldn't become a huge success until it began airing frequently on television over the years. By the way, these characters genuinely have no names, they're just giving juror numbers. Well, except for this at the end.
What's your name? Davis. My name's McCardle.
So it's kind of hard to describe the characters, but you don't care because it's awesome.
You're a pretty smart fella, aren't you?
The movie was actually so much of an impact it even influenced many people in society, such as Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor. I saw 12 Angry Men when I was in college and it really influenced my decision to pursue a career in law. I was particularly inspired by immigrant juror 11's monologue on his reverence for the American justice system. As a lower court judge, I would sometimes instruct jurors to not follow the film's example because most of the jurors' conclusions are based on speculation and not fact.
What's the difference?
However, she did claim that when Ford brings a knife into the proceeding, admitting he researched the case outside beforehand, and many of the jurors making assumptions far beyond their reasonable doubt would not be allowed in a real-life jury situation and would have actually caused a mistrial.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Honestly, I'm a sucker for the one-location genre of filmmaking. I think it allows the movie to be a lot more creative with the script, which is actually the most important part of the film. And considering this is pretty much possibly the first one to do it, it's easily one of my favorite films, and
You go ahead, you say anything you like.
it sounds so boring, it really does. It sounds so dull and so uninteresting.
What's interesting about it?
But somehow, some way, I never found myself checking the time or growing bored. This film is about a murder that we don't see. The accused, we never see. The victim, we never see. We never actually see any of the witnesses, any of those involved, and yet we feel like we can piece together the entire scenario inside our heads perfectly. The dialogue is incredibly well put together with 12 amazing acting performances, especially Fonda and the final guy to admit defeat in stubbornness by calling the accused innocent. Those two are the true stars with incredible performances.
He's a common ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
Never mind, he's my kind of guy. New favourite character.
I don't see anything funny about it.
There's also another one who's really interestingly written. He constantly mentions that he wants to get out to go to a baseball game and eventually gives in, saying the accused is innocent, but he gets this whole lecture because he's only saying it to get out of there, not because he actually believes in justice. It's a great message. The direction is also impeccable, often utilising long takes for whenever all 12 actors were available at the same time. The music is minimal, but not really needed. The only time besides the opening and ending that we actually leave the jury room is a short stint in the toilets, but that is it.
I got a different technique. Laughs, drinks, jokes, tricks, you know?
Am I the only one who's blown away by how easily he flips the cigarette up and catches it with his fingers, and he makes it look so easy? Seriously, it looks insane! How does he do that?
You have skills. What are you gonna do about it?
If you want to try it, I'm ready.
There's a lot of one-location films that I love and think belong in the book, which we'll discuss at another time, but this is definitely one of them. The script shows exactly how you can make an interesting, exciting film with a limited budget and limited locations. Just some actors and a room and a great script. The 11 guys just go by eyewitness accounts and refuse to accept any definitive evidence or ideas that Ford brings forward. They're completely stubborn and just see everything at face value, being incredibly close-minded, believing for a fact that the guy is guilty. It's very realistic and believable behavior.
She said she saw the killing through the windows of a moving elevated train. There were 6 cars on the train. She saw the killing through the last 2 cars. She remembered the most insignificant details. I don't see how you can argue with that.
Yeah, well, some people claim that they saw Satan turn into a bear.
He's twisting the facts, I'm telling you.
And they cover both sides of the spectrum. The 11 are all extremely quick to say guilty, but Ford basically says how can they live with themselves if they send an innocent man to be killed? However, later on it gets flipped and Ford gets asked what if they let a guilty man go free? It's a great message, makes you think, and nobody's really in the wrong. It just depends on what you think and what you believe. And it constantly keeps you guessing. About midway, when some of them started to change their minds and think the accused was actually innocent, I guess that they'd all convert, call him innocent, and then it would turn out he was actually guilty. You know, showing never to judge a book by its cover, that sometimes facts and evidence and statistics can actually fail you. But no, in fact, we never even find out if he is innocent or guilty. It constantly keeps you guessing, and I love that. But can I still find flaws with it? Yep.
Boy, oh boy, there's always one.
Now, I love the direction, but around the 33-minute mark, the close-ups begin. But only on the old guy. It's just random and out of place. What the hell's the point of these?
Number 8.
Not guilty.
Number 9.
Not guilty.
No. I think you mean not guilty.
Well, look, maybe this is an idea. Now, I haven't given it much thought, but it seems to me that it's up to the group of us to convince this gentleman that he's wrong and we're right.
Oh, hey, it's Marvel fans in my comment section.
Suppose we go once around the table. I guess you're first.
Oh. Well, it's hard to put into words. I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious from the word go.
I don't need evidence. I just feel pressured by the other guys. Yeah, this guy just goes back and forth for the entire movie depending on what the popular consensus is. More believe he's guilty, he says he's guilty. More believe he's innocent, he says he's innocent. So basically, he's just your generic film fan. He bases his opinion on the box office success.
Now, these are facts. You can't refute facts.
But my haters will sure as hell try. But sometimes the evidence given doesn't always add up or make any sense. Yeah, so the accused has this alibi that he was at the movies at the time of the killing, but these guys don't believe him because he couldn't remember what films he saw or what actors were there. Ford here claims it's easy to believe since the guy just found his father dead and he wouldn't be thinking straight in such a situation. Actually, he was questioned as soon as the body was discovered. So I know you'd be distressed, but you'd be able to remember the film that you just watched. Like, if I watched Grease and then got mugged. And then they were interviewing me. Oh yeah, that was Greece. It was only an hour ago.
What difference does it make?
But then Ford questions this guy about what he did yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before until he struggles to remember, and he claims he's not even in distress like the accused would have been. And this is supposed to prove his point? Yeah, because remembering what you did 5 days in a row is exactly the same as remembering a movie you just watched, which you need to remember to be able to clear your goddamn name. It's exactly the same thing.
What are you talking to him like that for?
How, early on, it's explained that the accused had a similar knife to the one found at the crime scene, but he claimed to have lost it, stating that it ripped a hole in his pocket and fell out. And before Ford even provides any evidence, he actually believes it's plausible that the dude lost his knife and whoever picked it up just so happened to then go and kill his father on the same night. I'm gonna say no.
I mean, it's possible.
But then he reveals he bought a near identical one nearby for cheap, and apparently this wouldn't be allowed in the jury, and if the judge found out, they'd be overruled. Now that doesn't really bother me, but what does bother me is...
Listen, you pulled a real bright trick. Now, supposing you tell me what it proves. Maybe there are 10 knives like that, so what?
Maybe there are.
Well, what does it mean?
So what? What do you mean, so what? What does this prove? He found a similar knife in the same neighborhood as the one for the killing. Oh yeah, what does this prove? It can't possibly be that someone could find the similar knife so easily and buy one. What? So what? So what? So what?
It's against the law to buy or sell switchblade knives.
That's right, I broke the law.
Oh sure, but go on down to your local gun shop. That's fine.
You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts. You're a sadist.
What the hell was that?
You're a sadist.
That's my fighting noise.
I want you to watch this because I don't want to have to do it again. I'll make myself about 6 or 7 inches shorter, okay?
It's about right, maybe a little more.
Okay, a little more.
Why does he say little more and then doesn't even make himself any shorter?
She had marks on her nose. I'm giving you that. From glasses, right? She didn't want to wear them out of the house so people would think she's gorgeous.
Because, as we all know, women can never be gorgeous in glasses. Also, the old guy brags about having 20/20 vision, right?
I've never worn my glasses. 20/20.
Well, there's this whole revelation where they realised the one witness of the crime needed glasses but wasn't wearing them in court. They could tell because of the marks on her nose, and this questions her eyesight during the attack. Oh, you mean like how the old guy has the exact same marks on his nose, even though earlier he bragged about having 20/20 vision and therefore not needing glasses.
Boy, the arrogance of this guy.
And the ending is a bit silly. The stubborn douchebag refuses to admit the truth, and just listen to this.
You can't prove he didn't get to the door. Sure, you can take all the time, hobble around the room, but you can't prove it.
He's literally just said, you can prove he didn't get to the door in time, but you can't prove that he didn't get to the door in time. And when he finally admits the truth, it just seems out of nowhere. He spots a picture of, I'm guessing, his son, and then blurts out that the guy is innocent. I mean, maybe because he can't imagine his son stabbing him? But the story reveals that the kid's dad beat the hell out of him, so retaliation wouldn't be that surprising. This just seems kinda silly and out of nowhere.
I'm entitled to my opinion.
Regardless, 12 Angry Men is phenomenal. Incredible writing and acting, great direction, a lot of heart, really inspiring, and a must-see for every film fan. I promise, you will not be disappointed. You're welcome in advance.